welcome back to another episode of the Buffalo Fatherhood Initiative podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Sherman Webb Middlebrooks, the lifelong Buffalo resident and full-time black man. And as always, I'm joined by my co-pilot and my player partner, the good brother Antoine Johnson.
What's going on, family? Glad to be here today. We also, kind of recruited on the low my man Daniel. So won't you jump right on in there, man?
Hey guys, welcome. I'm happy to be here with Sherman and my brother Antoine, joining him as I guess the third host on the show. So let's go.
Today we got a special guest with us, Mr. Stephen Tucker from Northland Training Center. But I'll let him introduce himself.
Good afternoon, and thank you guys for having me. And I feel like a podcast rookie, even though I'm definitely a podcast regular. My name is Stephen Tucker. I'm the president and CEO of Northland Workforce Training Center in East Buffalo. And our mission is to train and prepare local residents for careers in advanced manufacturing and clean energy. And looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, we're really honored to have you as one of the few men of color who are in a leadership position in our area. I think that we don't see that a lot, like that representation. So really glad to have you on today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that visibility is important. So I'm just get right to it. So jumping in, can you tell us a little bit about how like Northland is making themselves like visible to the community, especially to the young people like that they're recruiting?
Yes, of course. So I mentioned that our mission, our goal is to build talent pipelines for the construction and advanced manufacturing sector, but more importantly is to provide access to opportunities for anybody seeking a career in workforce development and a career that leads to pathways to self-sustainable wages. So one of the ways that we're engaging individuals, we have a team of outreach specialists, ironically men of color, women of color, going out to the schools, the churches, the community centers. Number one, raising awareness that we have outstanding careers here locally. And number two, encouraging people if they want to pursue a career in technology to pursue their career at Northland Workforce Training Center.
Cool.
Oh, you got something?
We're waiting on y'all.
And I'm still processing.
I definitely got a bunch of questions. So like when it comes, because I work with young people a lot, and so the one thing like I would always like tell people who want to work with young people is like they ain't gonna want to be you. Like if you broke when you grow up, like don't nobody want to grow up to be broke. Right. It just is what it is. Right. Like nobody wants a broke mentor. So like, what kind of like money can these young people expect to make, and like what's the kind of like the career path that they can kind of expect to see for themselves? Paint the picture.
The average salaries in technology jobs, right, is around $85,000, right? And well, more importantly, what I try to encourage young people to do is to align how you're getting paid with what you're passionate about.
There we go.
Identify something that you are passionate about and figure out a way to make money doing it. Yeah. I've changed careers like 7 times. And I landed in a space where I can help people, where I can utilize my skill set to raise money to support people in the community, and I make a lot of money doing it. Mm-hmm. So if you can align your paycheck with your passion, you'll have a career that's not like going to work. I enjoy getting up every day, going to do the work that I do. It just so happens that I love doing what I do.
Right. So can you talk a little bit more about that? We always talk about aligning passion and purpose with young people all the time. That's like one of the first things that we do within Breaking Barriers, right? So what kind of led you on your path to where you are? Like, how'd you get here?
You know, it's interesting because you never, people don't grow up and say, I want to work in workforce development, right? Workforce development was something that I kind of landed into. I actually went through a program very similar to to Breaking Barriers when I was in Cincinnati, Ohio. Okay. And that's how I became aware that this was a whole, genre of work that you could do. And I saw people of color, young men who looked like me leading those programs. And I made in my mind, that's what I really wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So once I made in my mind that that's what I wanted to do, I went back to school. I got a bachelor's degree. I got a master's degree. I became an expert in my field, right? And then I was recruited to move to Buffalo to lead the Northland Workforce Training Center. So if I could say anything, the way I uncovered what I like to do was testing out different, opportunities, raising my awareness around what type of careers that were out there. And once I found something that I liked, I put together a plan to pursue to become the best at what I do, which is workforce development.
That's awesome, man. I heard you say Cincinnati, so that means you're a Bengals fan.
Yeah, I'm a Bengals fan.
Oh,
I mean, that's the home team. You know, I like the Bills too. I have a good relationship
How long have you
with a
been
lot
a
of the
Bengals
Buffalo
fan?
Bills. My whole
Was
life.
you out there rooting for Boomer?
I was, man. See, now you're telling my age, but
That's
you're
crazy,
telling your
man.
age too, because you know about Boomer too.
I love football.
That's
Just
what's
I
up.
mean, that was probably about the last time you had a good quarterback before. Homeboy, what's his
We
name?
gonna turn this into a football
I
conversation.
mean, we just used to mention Cincinnati, so we had to go there. I mean,
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Tucker.
No, it's, you know, the last couple of years have been really fun for me because when I got here, I don't know if you guys remember this, but the Bills made the playoffs, I think in 2017.
Andy Dalton. Thank you, Andy.
Andy Dalton got
That's
y'all in the playoffs, right?
And we gave Andy a bunch of money.
They did.
His foundation.
Shout out to the Mafia.
Right.
Shout out to the Mafia.
And then, you know, fast forward 5 years now, we're one of the biggest competitors against Buffalo. So it's just going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, we about to jump ahead of y'all in the standings and make the playoffs, but enough about football. So say yes, we've utilized the Northland training facility a number of times for a number of different events and Breaking Barriers. We host our graduation ceremony there every year in February. Can you talk about just the impact of what it means to, you know, the east side of Buffalo to have a facility like that in that area? Because we just, and you know, for as long as I can remember, we haven't had a space that we can utilize for events. And, you know, you got man over there, and just can talk about the importance of that.
Yeah, so one of the things that really attracted me to this opportunity was the investment and the location of the investment. You guys know this story better than I do, but the Northland Beltline, the area where we're located, used to be a thriving industrial area back in its heyday in the 50s and 60s. You had great employment centers, great businesses such as Niagara Machine and Tool, Curtis Wright, Otis Elevator. You had Houda. Collectively, those blue-collar manufacturing companies employed upwards to 8,000 people that all lived in the neighborhood. You can literally graduate from high school, get your high school diploma, go get a blue-collar job, make a lot of money. But like many other Rust Belt cities, the area kind of deteriorated in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. In the 90s, became a predominantly African-American neighborhood. The household incomes in East Buffalo is $32,000 per household in the zip codes at 14211, which is below the rest of New York. And at that time, that was when the Buffalo Billion Initiative was being discussed. And Mayor Brown advocated with Governor Cuomo to make that investment in East Buffalo, specifically within the Northland Beltline corridor to revitalize that area. It was a $65 million investment. And thankfully, they hired me and put me in charge of a $65 million asset in our community. And one of the things that I determined early on when I first got here was I want to make this resource available to people in East Buffalo, to people in our community to have events. We now have a restaurant there, Manhattan Northland. We have a banking institution, Bank on Buffalo. We've brought other employers from outside of the region into the region, Garwood Medical Devices, Retech Systems, to create jobs. Rodriguez Construction is there. Did you guys know this?
I didn't know that.
Rodriguez Construction is there. We're bringing companies into East Buffalo to create jobs, to hire the residents. So we really wanted to make sure this asset benefited everyone in the community, and specifically people who look like us and people who live in the East Side.
I was gonna tell you, had one more time to say East Buffalo. I don't know. I ain't never been to East Buffalo in my life.
Hey,
I ain't never, for everybody, I ain't never been to East Buffalo in my life. But everything, I ain't want to interrupt you.
I appreciate that.
That's how I knew that you wasn't.
But hopefully you get it from my heart, right?
I know.
I know.
But that was a telltale sign. It's the East Side. It's the East Side.
Oh man.
I think that's wonderful, and I didn't know a lot about that. And again, that's why I didn't want to interrupt. I wanted you to really expound on Daniel's question. But so in working with young people, flipping it back to that, like with Northland being such a tremendous resource, sometimes there's barriers. And we know that like the literacy rate in our community, especially on the east side for our young people, is difficult. And for me, trying to have young people access Northland, the literacy rate and the entrance test sometimes are like the hardest thing to overcome. So have there been any like investments in order to help young people in our community with like literacy issues overcome those barriers and obstacles?
So one of the things, Daniel talks about breaking barriers, right? And I'm a huge proponent of breaking barriers, removing any obstacle that's going to impact or impede progress. So we removed the entrance test requirement. There is no more entrance test requirement.
Nice.
People need
The
to
only
know
requirement that you have is the desire to want to pursue
Yeah.
a career in advanced manufacturing and clean energy. I think personally, one of the biggest obstacles or barriers that we face is the perceptions that people may have about these careers, as well as the perception that these careers are not for people who look like us. That's a huge internal barrier that a lot of people face. When I moved here, I even heard feedback from members in the community. Yeah, they're building this new building, but it's not for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, they put a person of color in charge of it, but we're not going to be welcome. And for the longest, I couldn't understand that. And I realized that there was a lot of cynicism in the community because of the history, right? Buffalo is a historically racist city.
Yeah.
It's a historically segregated city. There's huge disparities. So I couldn't fault anybody for what they felt or what they believed. But what I wanted to do was to communicate that if you give us a chance, if you allow us to have an impact, have the opportunity to serve you, right? We're going to create a welcoming culture. We're going to deliver on all of the commitments that we deliver to prospective students. And we've done so in a major way. Since we've opened, we've enrolled more than 1,000 students. We have 453 graduates. 375 of our graduates are working in employment opportunities. Their wages have an economic impact of around $42 million over the last 5 years. 55% of our students are people of color, right? 60% come from Buffalo. 38% come from zip codes contiguous to 14211, which are all the zip codes touching where we're located.
Yeah.
So we're starting to have that impact. We want to have an even greater impact.
Yeah.
Why couldn't we have 90% people of color enrolled in our program?
Yeah.
Why couldn't we have 40, 50% women enrolled in our program? I think the next step is removing that perception of this isn't for me, or they're not going to really help me obtain the careers that they say they are.
Yeah. You making me think about a quote. Went through this fatherhood program before I started doing this work, and the facilitator would often say that trust is built with consistency over time. You know, and so everything that you said, it may not have felt good, right? Especially somebody coming in trying to implement change was like, this is reality. But to your point, the proof is in the pudding. You guys are doing the work, and I think that nobody can deny the results, right? Like you can feel or say what you want to say, but you can't deny it.
And one of the things that I'm really strong on, I have a background in organizational development, organizational culture, right? Organizations are living, breathing organisms. You know when you are a person, a customer. We don't even call our students or clients. We call them our customers. You know why? Because they're really paying a tuition, even though they don't have to pay any money out of pocket. When you go to school, you're paying a tuition. You're not a student. You're a customer. And what I explain to our staff is that we have to create a culture, an environment where everybody feels welcome. Have you ever walked into an organization where instantly you felt unwelcome, you felt less value, that you didn't matter to them? That's real. And people feel it. And when you feel it, you walk out the door, right? So that was one of the first things we worked on. And then we hired most of our staff from East Side. I was going to say East Buffalo. No, East Side. A lot of our staff members.
Quick learn. I love that.
I love that, yeah. So a lot of our staff members are people of color from East Side of Buffalo. And I'm a strong proponent of that culture. So that's very critical and important to me.
So, Mr. You
go ahead.
Mr. Tucker, can you talk a little bit, and I love the fact that you got that background in organizational just development and culture, because that was kind of, my area of expertise in school too, in my master's program. So can you talk about the responsibility you feel like you have to ensure that Northland is successful, and how you go about ensuring that your staff model exactly what you kind of expect? And because you as you alluded to, you have a huge responsibility overseeing and responsible for over a $65 million project, and that's like unheard of in this area in regards to giving that type of responsibility and ownership of something to an African American male.
So initially, I really didn't fully understand the magnitude of the project, right? Because I'm not gonna lie, when they were talking about Buffalo Billion, I was laughing like, yeah, right. Who's gonna invest $1 billion into Buffalo? So I really didn't understand the asset and the responsibility that I had over that asset. But after I got here, I realized the opportunity that I had personally in front of me, as well as the opportunity that I had to have an impact in the community for people who look like me. That was number one. Number two, it's in my personal DNA to be the best at whatever I do, to be a winner, right? And Northland is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. But one thing I can tell you about funding, funders and philanthropists, they want to fund a winner. They want to fund a winner where they can see a return on their investment. So everything we do it to the highest expectation, right? We don't operate like a nonprofit. We operate like a for-profit. We have productivity goals. We have objectives. We have core values that we developed as a staff, and we hold each other accountable towards that. And we do the same expectation with our students. And one of the reasons why I set it up that way is because I mentioned that I went through a program similar to Breaking Barriers when I was in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm actually a returning citizen, right? I had to complete a boot camp for nonviolent offenders. And when I went through the program, I could remember going through a program, calling my counselor after I completed the program, trying to get connected to a job, and they didn't call me back. Or emailing the counselor, trying to get a response, and they never responded. And I told myself that if I ever got in a position to help people, I'm always going to call people back. I'm always going to respond to people. I'm always going to meet with whoever wants to meet with me, because I know how it felt when people treated me that way.
You hit on something, and our group is we're actually doing work with incarcerated fathers through the Buffalo Fatherhood Initiative at Buffalo Prenatal. And so, you know, a lot of times we hear about how guys, they really struggle when they come out into the community, trying to get reintegrated back with their families and the job and all this other stuff. And so to hear yours, I didn't know that about you. And so to hear how you were able to go from that to where you are today is really inspiring.
Thank you.
Especially for those who may not feel as hopeful, you know, coming out of situations where they, you know, done things or experienced things that they didn't, you know, want to do. As a matter of fact, I was just at a retreat this past weekend with some guys who were formerly, some guys are formerly incarcerated, some weren't. But I specifically remember this one dad who was talking about his experience, and, you know, on the fatherhood side, he's like, you know, trying to wrap his mind around how he could begin to discipline his son and feel respected by him, because they've been disconnected for 3 or 4 years, right? But then the job thing was actually interesting, right? Because he started talking about how he had these skills and whatever, and he was able to use the stuff that he learned to do work on houses and stuff like that. But I guess I'm kind of segueing now into like the fatherhood piece, right? Because you're a businessman, but then you're also a father and grandfather that we learned. So can you talk to us a little bit about your fatherhood experience?
Yeah, it's interesting because I had my first daughter when I was 19 years old. I spent 4 years in the military as well. And I have 4 kids, 8 and a half grandkids, because one is on the way. So I've been a father more than half my life. Well, a little bit less than half my life. So I grew up in a 2-parent household. I always had a mom and a dad. So I wanted to make sure that I was a good father for my kids. Ironically, my children are 37, 30, 28, and 27. And when you try to do the best you can as a parent, but when they get older, they still find things that you might have done wrong, or they may have felt like you done wrong. Yeah. But it's definitely been one of the blessings in my life.
So I got 2 questions for you, and I'll stop so you other gentlemen could jump in. Oh, but having a child at 19, on my way here, I was just thinking like, man, like, I'm glad I didn't have the experience of having to be a young father. Like I got to experience going through high school, going to college, and like just doing me, for lack of better words, right? But I couldn't imagine how it would have been trying to raise a child, right?
You know what's funny? I'm 56 years old, and at that time, you would gauge a parent's success on if their kid graduated from high school without having a child or going to jail. that was like the barometer almost, right? My dad's and mom's barometer was, I got him out of high school without a kid and he ain't in jail. That was the barometer. It wasn't go to high school, go to college, get a job, because other cultures, the I guess the standard, I don't want to say it's different, but it's different. It's high school, the expectation, high school, college, job, career, marriage, then family. For us, it wasn't like that. So having a kid at 19 wasn't like, I was one of the last one of my friends to have a kid.
Got you.
Right? So it wasn't like, it was a big deal to me. It was just something that, okay, I had a child when I was 19 and I raised her. I just talked to her today. We're still very close to this day. She graduated from Howard University. She just graduated from LSU Law School 2 years ago. She's still trying to take the bar. She's married. She's got 4 kids. She's successful. We've had our trials and tribulations, right? But yeah, that was almost the norm at that point. Was he out of high school, he made it, I did my job.
How do you, I guess for you it's a little bit different now, right? Seeing that most of your children are, older, right? But how do you balance dad, work, and then your grandbabies,
right?
As you advance in your years, right? Yeah. Those grandbabies tend to be, sometimes you treat them with a little more care and more preciousness than you did your own kids.
We baby the grandbabies. They always say that, right? We don't discipline the grandkids the way we did the kids, but I was one of those fathers that, was super present in all of my children's lives, was at every sports game, was at all the different recitals. So I have 3 daughters and 1 son. Now I'm hearing that my son, they think I was too hard on him. I'm like, y'all tripping. You can't be too hard on him. But I guess you can.
Where did he fall in the pecking order?
He is the second from the last.
Oh, He's the second. Hard on him.
I mean, I'm trying to raise him to be a man, right?
Yeah.
Don't know if I was right or wrong.
Prior to that. So.
Yeah.
People gotta be specific when they say that. Like,
what you mean?
Like, in what areas? Like, where you?
Well, he said I was hard on him.
Oh, okay.
I didn't think I was hard on him. I think I was right on him. He actually followed my footsteps. Had a career in the Air Force. He's now in Texas. Super smart. His business acumen is off the chain. He owns property right now. He don't even work full time. He owns property. That's his job, owning property. So his business acumen is outstanding. But I think I did an okay job because all my kids are in good places, and I have a great relationship with all my grandkids as well.
Man, you got to be super proud, man. You were just bringing. I'm almost sitting over here about to tear up a little bit, man. Just thinking about just how proud you have to be as a dad.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how? Because oftentimes we see, especially with the young men that we're working with in Breaking Barriers, that they don't have that positive male figure, dad, stepdad in their lives. Can you talk about how the impact of having a 2-family household kind of sets you up and puts you in a position to, be the father that you are? Because I think that plays a huge role in how we, in every relationship that we wind up having. Mm-hmm. So
I think it definitely put me in a positive position when it came to being a father myself, because my father was present, right? He was a very hardworking blue collar person, right? All he knew really was work. He was an electrician. And what's funny is he taught me how to change the brakes on my car, change a tire. I learned how to catch the bus. Now this stuff sounds super basic, right? Catch the bus and stuff like that. And then when I had a son, I bought him a car and he was 16 and his little car broke down. He's like, Dad, I changed the tire. I'm like, what? Man, I didn't teach him how to change the tire. Well, how do I get to work? I'm like, dude, catch the bus. He's like, I don't know where the bus is at. So I say all that to say, I definitely benefited from a 2-parent household. And I think in general, most people want to provide a better life for their kids than themselves. Mm-hmm. But I think in doing so, sometimes we forget to teach them some of the hard lessons that we learned. Yeah. So make sure that we're teaching them things. Like changing a tire sounds super simple, but if you don't teach your kid how to do it, they may not know how, especially your daughters, right? Changing your oil, changing brakes on the car, fixing the air conditioner in your house. I learned all that stuff when I was 12 years old.
Oh.
When my son got older, he didn't know how to do any of that stuff. He knows now because now I know it's important to do. But that would be something that I would do a little bit different.
Yeah, I like that. I wish somebody was there teaching me.
Same here.
We grew up in the projects. You call it maintenance.
Low key jealous over here.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie.
I didn't learn how to change the
Anybody
tire.
teach you how to change the tire?
No, I learned how to call Geico roadside assistance.
And I have AAA and backup, so I'll call them both.
Y'all
Whichever one
spoiled,
come
man.
here first.
Y'all spoiled. That's what
Yeah.
it is, man.
Yeah.
I know where the spare tire at.
Right. I know how to tell you how to get to it. I can get out the car.
Right.
But they got it's important. I know we don't want our daughters to change tires, but what if they be stranded somewhere?
They
and
gonna call
and they got
daddy.
to?
Yeah. And I'm gonna make
They
sure
gonna
she's
call
always
daddy.
got roadside assistance
All
covered
right.
under my insurance.
Our very first episode, which is back, or for our second season, we talked about father and daughters. Three of us have daughters, so we talked about that. And yeah, that is a piece, right? Especially in this day and age, because I think now more than ever, women are encouraged to do what they have to do, for lack of better words, right? So having that skill set is super important. One of the things that we talk about in our program, we do this curriculum called Nurturing Fathers, and there's this exercise called Keep, Toss, Add. So is what would you keep as a father that you from your dad that you learned from him, regardless of what the relationship was like? What would you toss? Right, something that you didn't like. So for me, it would have been the physical, verbal abuse. And what would you add? Right, like whatever he didn't do or whatever. Like, what would you add that you want to employ in your father, kind of thing?
So the key for my father would be his work ethic, right? He was a very hardworking man. 6 kids, right? Wife. We lived in a middle class neighborhood. We probably was poor, but we didn't know it, right? So I would keep that part. The part I would toss would be the hardworking father part, which is like an oxymoron.
Give him curse.
Because he worked his whole life and passed away, right? He passed away when he was 56 years old, right? So I think knowing what I know now, I would teach or encourage my kids to, as you are working, also think about business ownership, entrepreneurship, retirement. Are you working to live, or are you living just to work, right? That's a whole mentality, right? I'm not living just to work, right? We all need to work to have purpose and make money, but at the end of the day, we only got one life. You only got one life, and it's gonna go quick. I remember being 19, having my daughter. Now I'm 56 years old. So, yeah, that would be something I would toss. You got to have that work-life balance, that family balance, right, to enjoy life. It's more than just work. I guess I added the part, teaching my kids about finances better, being better prepared. You guys read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? The poor man's approach is teaching your kid to get a job. The rich man's approach is teaching your kid to have equity, ownership, business. I wish I would have added that. I wish my dad would have, showed me that when I was young.
Yeah.
We're doing some work related to mental health with men, fathers, sons, young men in our community. And you mentioned that work-life balance, right? And with all the responsibility that you have, I can imagine that while achieving massive levels of success has got to be stressful too, right?
I think so. The reason why I say I think so is because I don't personally feel it, because I'm just working, and I love what I do, and I'm very driven. And that's something else I would say. All of us have a God-given talent that we were born with. We all have it. It's up to us to uncover what that is. My talent is I'm very, very driven and very focused on success, right? So that's my approach to everything. So I think it may be stressful. I don't know, but because I'm so driven and focused on just getting the work done, I don't feel it. I do go to the doctor a lot.
I was going to ask you, because the next question to follow was really, what are those things that you're doing to make sure that
I go to the
you
doctor.
are taking care of you?
I go to the doctor a lot. I try to get a lot of sleep. I try to get as much sleep as possible, especially when you get my age. You got to start, thinking about those health disparities that impact us, high blood pressure, obesity, diabetes, all those things, they impact people of color, men, at a higher rate than others. So if you take anything away from this conversation, go to the doctor. Go get your physical, go get your blood work done, listen to your doctor, try to have a healthy lifestyle, try to exercise. I need to pick it up. I'm about to.
Well, you can join us on Saturday. We're doing some boot camps from 11 to 12.
I'm coming. I'm serious.
Okay.
I'll check it out. Y'all gotta let me
already?
Nope. Y'all gotta let me ease in though. You're trying to kill me off of day one.
Hey man, you gotta talk to Gentino about that one. I have no idea what he has planned for Saturday.
I'll see y'all in 6 months then.
No.
No, but I'm serious about that. You really gotta be intentional in it. Drink a lot of water. Like my father passed away when he was 56. And I remember when he passed away, like 4 or 5 of his friends passed away. Right? So fast forward, now I'm 56. In the last year, I've had at least 4 or 5 people that not from violence, just from health-related issues.
Wow.
This has been good for the day. Any last minute closing thoughts from you gentlemen?
No, I think that last part was just kind of heavy. I had another question, but I
didn't mean to end it like
no,
that.
it's
But
all good.
that's the reality.
No, I think that's an appropriate place to end it, especially just I'll share just for me, just being at the age and stage that I'm at in my life. Like everything you shared with me is kind of like looking forward down the road. So like I'm pretty sure the folks out there in the audience took a lot from the conversation, from everything that you shared. But just as an individual, just another young Black person, just listening to you, I took a lot of everything that you shared.
I appreciate it.
Gave me a lot to think about. Like my brother said, when somebody give you food for thought, sometimes stop eating, just let it digest for a little bit. So I'm gonna let it digest for a little bit.
Amen.
For me, it's just grateful and appreciative of the working relationship and partnership that we have over at Northland, yourself and members of your team that had a chance and opportunity to work with over the years. Just thankful, man, because we do a lot of work with y'all. So
yeah, appreciate you being genuine and
thank you. And I'm grateful to the city of Buffalo for embracing me and my family, and I'm grateful for the state and the city for entrusting me with this large investment. And now I'm gonna make a plea to the community. We need you to come out. We need you to pursue these careers. If you have a desire to work in advanced manufacturing or clean energy, we got you. I got you. Right? I give you my word. My word is bond. Ain't that what they say?
Mm-hmm.
Right? They probably said that 50 years ago, but I don't know what they say now. But we do have an initiative with the city of Buffalo where city residents can attend Northland at no out-of-pocket expense.
Nice. So
no tuition expense, no tool expense, book expense, laptop expense. This was a project funded under the American Rescue Plan.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Brown, for supporting us. So like I say to my staff, no excuses, just results. Yeah. If you're looking for a successful career, come check us out at Northland Workforce Training Center.
If things go sour with me, I might come join you.
That's right.
Hey, we need some trainers and some teachers. We really do.
Man, you're a good salesman. I'll tell you that much. If I had anything to promote, I'm gonna give it to you.
All right, thank you.
But yeah, there you have it, man. Another wonderful episode of the Buffalo Fatherhood Initiative podcast. I want to thank our guests for pulling up and dropping all that wonderful information. If you're looking for one of those careers, make sure you check out Northland. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, hit the little bell thing. And yeah, stay tuned for our next episode. It's Buffalo Fatherhood Initiative podcast, and we out.